one of the most wonderful times of the year, a time of giving, a time of visiting the sick, a time to repent. Welcome to our guide on the top 10 best cities in the U.S. to spend Christmas in 2024 and beyond. Now, before you grab your pitchforks and accuse us of being heartless Grinches, hear me out. This isn't about shaming cities. It's about shining a light on a stark reality that often gets buried under twinkling stairs and Mariah Carey's high note strikes while we're busy debating the merits of gingerbread-flavored coffee. There are millions struggling with poverty, homelessness, and addiction right here in America. So buckle up, grab some eggnog, spiked or virgin, we don't judge, as we take a not so jolly sleigh ride through the urban landscapes where the holiday cheer might need a little boost. First city, the gateway to some tough realities. St. Louis, home to the iconic Gateway Arch, toasted ravioli, and a staggering poverty rate. Look, I'm sure the view from the top of that arch is breathtaking. But what about the view from the ground level, where families struggle to put food on the table, let alone gifts under a tree? St. Louis, you see, is grappling with a whole stocking full of challenges: poverty, crime, and an opioid epidemic that's tighter than Santa's belt after a late-night cookie binge. Now, I know what you're thinking, but still, St. Louis has beautiful parks, a vibrant art scene. Yes, it does. It also has communities ravaged by disinvestment and neglect. It's easy to get swept up in the holiday spirit when you're sipping hot cocoa at a Christmas market, but spare a thought for those who are struggling to keep their families warm and fed. Remember, folks, St. Louis isn't just a city on a map. It's a community of people facing very real challenges. Living here, you see both sides, the beauty and the struggle. It's a tough balance, especially during the holidays. We need more than just festive lights. We need real change and support. Our second city on the list, with jingle bells and broken promises. Yes, it's Detroit, the Motor City, once a symbol of American industrial might. Now, well, it's complicated. We've all heard the stories: economic decline, population loss, urban blight. But Detroit's story isn't just about abandoned buildings and empty factories. It's about people. People who have been let down by a system that promised them prosperity but delivered hardship. People battling poverty, addiction, and a lack of opportunity that would make even Santa say, "Ho, ho, hold on a minute. This is bleak." Detroiters are tough. They're resilient. But even the toughest among us need a helping hand sometimes. This Christmas, let's remember that the spirit of giving isn't just about shiny new toys. It's about investing in communities, creating opportunities, and offering a glimmer of hope to those who need it most. Next is Charm City in need of some serious TLC. Baltimore, Maryland, home to the National Aquarium, home to the Ravens team, Fort McHenry, and, oh right, one of the highest poverty rates in the country. Look, I love a good crab cake as much as the next guy, but let's not sugarcoat it. Baltimore is facing some serious challenges. We're talking poverty, crime, and a lack of opportunity that would make even Edgar Allan Poe say, telltale signs of societal neglect, indeed. Now, Baltimore has a lot to offer. A rich history, vibrant culture, and let's not forget those legendary crab cakes, please. But it also has communities that have been neglected and underserved for far too long. It's easy to get caught up in the holiday cheer when you're strolling through the inner harbor. But let's not forget about the thousands of Baltimore residents who are struggling to make ends meet. Next city, let the good times roll for everyone. In New Orleans, a city known for its music, its food, and its ability to party like there's no tomorrow. But behind the Mardi Gras masks and the jazz funerals, there's another side to New Orleans, one grappling with poverty, homelessness, and a mental health crisis that's more common than a go-cup on Bourbon Street. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy while you're in the Big Easy, but let's not forget about the people who are struggling to keep their heads above water, literally and figuratively, especially after Hurricane Katrina. This Christmas, let's remember that the spirit of giving isn't just about throwing beads from a balcony. It's about supporting and giving with our own hands, like God gave us with His own hands, made us with His own hands, and everyone and everything with His own hands. With this mindset, we can easily work tirelessly to rebuild lives and communities. Next up, the Windy City and the divide that chills. Chicago, that toddling town. Home of deep dish pizza, the Cubs, sometimes lovable, often heartbreaking, and a stark socioeconomic divide that's wider than Lake Michigan after a particularly aggressive storm. Look, I'm as fond of a good Chicago hot dog as the next guy, but let's not pretend that everyone in the Windy City is living the sweet life. While some neighborhoods boast Michelin star restaurants and luxury high-rises, others grapple with poverty, gun violence, and a lack of opportunity that's colder than a January wind off the lake. It's easy to get swept up in the festive spirit at the Christ Kennel Market with a mug of Glühwein in hand. But let's not forget about the families struggling to keep their kids warm and fed. The next city that needs a lot of TLC. A city of rock and a whole lot of hardship. Cleveland, Ohio. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, check. Delicious pierogies, you bet. A staggering poverty rate that would make even the most die-hard Browns fan shed a tear, sadly, also yes. Look, Cleveland has a lot to offer. A rich history, a thriving art scene, and a certain gritty charm that's hard to resist. But it also has one of the highest poverty rates in the country, with thousands of residents struggling to make ends meet. It's easy to get caught up in the holiday spirit when you're belting out Cleveland rocks at a Christmas bar crawl. But let's not forget about the people who are struggling to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. This Christmas, let's remember that the true spirit of giving isn't about the latest gadgets or gizmos. It's about supporting organizations that are working tirelessly to provide food, shelter, and hope to those who need it most. About using your own hands to do for those who need the most. Next up, a tech giant so big it steps on toes. Silicon Valley's shadow. Oakland, California. Home to a vibrant art scene, delicious food trucks, and, oh right, the ever-present shadow of Silicon Valley wealth juxtaposed against its own stark inequalities. Look, I'm as fond of a good avocado toast as the next millennial, but let's not pretend that everyone in Oakland is living the tech-fueled dream, while just a stone's throw away, tech billionaires launch themselves into space. Oakland grapples with a housing crisis, homelessness, and a growing wealth gap that's wider than the Bay itself. It's easy to get swept up in the holiday cheer at Jack London Square, sipping craft cocktails under twinkling lights. But let's not forget about the families struggling to afford rent, let alone gifts under the tree. This Christmas, let's remember that the spirit of giving isn't just about the latest phone or car. It's about supporting organizations, fighting for affordable housing, providing essential services, and creating a more equitable Oakland for all. The blues are real. In Memphis, Tennessee, birthplace of rock and roll, home of the blues, and, oh right, a city grappling with poverty, addiction, and an opioid crisis that's as heartbreaking as a B.B. King guitar solo. Look, I love a good Elvis impersonator as much as the next guy, but let's not pretend that everyone in Memphis is living in a Graceland fantasy. While tourists flock to Beale Street, many residents struggle with poverty, unemployment, and a lack of opportunity that's as heavy as a plate of barbecue. It's It's easy to get caught up in the holiday spirit at Graceland, all decked out for Christmas. But let's not forget about the families struggling to put food on the table, let alone gifts under the tree. This Christmas, let's remember that the true spirit of giving isn't about just the memorabilia or a night out on Beale Street. It's about supporting organizations, fighting addiction, providing essential services, and ensuring that everyone in Memphis has a reason to sing the blues this holiday season. City number 9, swinging and struggling in Kansas City, Missouri. Known for its jazz, its barbecue, and oh right, a city grappling with poverty, homelessness, and a stark divide between those who have and those who have not. Look, I like a good barbecue as much as the next carnivore, but let's not pretend that everyone in Kansas City is living high on the hog. While some neighborhoods boast trendy restaurants and upscale boutiques, others struggle with crime, unemployment, and a lack of opportunity that's as tough to swallow as a burnt end. It's easy to get caught up in the holiday spirit at the plaza, all aglow with Christmas lights. But let's not forget about the families struggling to keep a roof over their heads, let alone gifts under the tree. The last city on our list, the race to lift up all, Indianapolis, Indiana. Home to the Indy 500, a thriving art scene, and oh right, a city grappling with an opioid crisis that's as devastating as a last lap crash. Look, I appreciate a good fast car as much as the next adrenaline junkie, but let's not pretend that everyone in Indianapolis is living life in the fast lane. While some neighborhoods boast charming homes and trendy restaurants, others struggle with addiction, poverty, and a lack of opportunity that's as difficult to overcome as a 200-lap race. It's easy to get caught up in the holiday spirit at Monument Circle, all decked out for Christmas. But let's not forget about the families struggling with addiction, poverty, and a lack of access to resources. A time for giving, and I don't mean fruitcake. So there you have it, our not-so-merry tour of 10 cities where the holiday spirit might need a little extra love. Look, I know this wasn't your typical cheery Christmas message, but sometimes we need a little tough love to remind us that the holidays aren't always merry and bright for everyone. This Christmas, let's remember that the spirit of giving isn't just about presents under the tree, but also to help everyone in need. We all live in the same big house. Even if we divide with walls, we can still feel each other through even stone walls. As walls have ears, walls can talk through the language of vibration just like the earth. Some chosen creations of God can even hear clear screams instead of just vibrations of other men through the rocks. through the earth and through the grave. I urge people to watch A Christmas Carol again, whether the human version or the Scrooge McDuck version or the original book by Dickens. But remember all the Tiny Tims of the world and their parents and families. Rediscover and revisit these great cities in this great time to remind us of giving and that charity starts at home. These cities are every American's home. The saddest part is, this is not an exhaustive list. As long as greed exists, we are not even safe on the moon from each other. As long as we long, someday may we all step together into the light